As you know, last week there was the big FOMC meeting, and surprise, to no surprise, the Fed decided to do what? To continue the extraordinary accommodative monetary policy. Now, I know you have taken the position that the Fed's position are all purely data-driven, and that's where some of the questions were before, and that has absolutely nothing to do with politics. But you know, less and less people really do believe that. Let me just give you two or three headlines out of last week regarding the FOMC meeting. From Politico, from right around here. Yellen helps Clinton dodge a bullet. From the LA Times. Is the Fed politically biased? Well, look at its interest rate decisions as the election nears. From Market Watch. A Fed rate hike and other important decisions, again, being put off until after the election. See, Chair Yellen, you have told our on countless occasions that the Fed is not subject to undue political pressure. But as the saying goes, perception is reality. And whether you like it or not, the public increasingly believes that the Fed independence is nothing more than a myth. And the Fed has an unacceptable, cozy relationship both with the Obama administration and with higher-ups in the Democratic Party. Now, I brought this up a year ago, and let me run through some of those points that I raised then. You personally have weekly lunches with political and partisan heads over at the Department of Treasury. There is, in fact, a revolving door between the Treasury appointees and the Board of Governors. Your predecessor, Chairman Bernanke, had made a decision literally just weeks before the President had to go before the voters in 2012. And looking at your record, your speech on income inequality, something you never talked about before, but which became a major political theme for the administration, and you gave it just weeks before that last election. Now let me give you one most recent one. Maybe you can just comment on this in a couple of yes and no's. There's little doubt about last week's FOMC meeting that potential implications for the markets and therefore the election. But it was reported earlier this year that Fed Governor Lael Brainard contributed the maximum amount to the Hillary Clinton campaign. And she did so while she was a sitting member of the Fed board. And there was numerous reports that have come out, media reports, stating that the governor is angling for a top job with the Clinton administration if Hillary wins. So some basic questions, knowing that's all out there on the table. Because of the appearance of conflict and impropriety there, has Governor Brainard ever offered to recuse herself from voting at the FOMC? Has she? Yeah.
Governor Brainard, like all of us, is subject to the restrictions of the Hatch Act.
Right. So has she offered to recuse herself because
No.
of her political involvement? The answer is no. Have you ever asked the governor? I'm sorry.
The Hatch Act does not prohibit political contributions.
I get that, and so, but we see the appearance of the conflict, and so it's a basic question. Has Governor Brainard ever offered to recuse herself? And the answer is no. Have you ever asked Governor Brainard to recuse herself because of her close involvement with the campaign and making contributions? Have you ever asked?
She's acting in a way that is permitted by the rules
So your answer
we're
is,
subject to.
Right.
And
so
each one of us has to decide
I understand that. So the answer
for ourselves.
The answer is she has never offered to recuse herself. The answer is you have never asked her to recuse herself. To your knowledge, has Governor Brainard been in contact with the Clinton administration, or Clinton campaign, regarding a potential job in a potential future administration? Are you aware of that at all?
I have absolutely no awareness of that.
There have been published media reports talking about that, so you're not familiar with those media reports.
What's important to me is whether or not in our decision-making, our collective decision-making, I see politics being brought to bear in reasoning about our decisions. And I have never seen that on the part of any of my colleagues.
If you learn that she has had communications with Clinton as far as trying to get a job, would that change your opinion as to whether she should be asked to recuse herself?
I don't think that there is a conflict of interest there.
So a federal governor can be in direct negotiations with a political campaign looking for a future job, and that is not a conflict as far as you're concerned?
We do have.
No, is that a conflict or not? If they are having direct negotiations with either political party to ask for a job next year, while they're a sitting governor. Do you see that as a conflict?
Will the gentleman yield?
I would like
no
to
time.
know. I would like to have an answer. Is that a conflict?
Will the
And if it is a
gentleman
conflict,
yield?
will you be asking the governors whether they are engaged in such activity?
Will the
The time
gentleman
that
yield?
the gentleman apparently is not yielding. The time of the gentleman has expired. Can the witness give a brief answer?
I would have to consult my counsel. I'm not aware that that's a conflict, but I would.
The time of the gentleman has expired. The chair now recognizes the gentlelady from New York, Ms. Velasquez.